You can ask Once Upon a Time questions. I don't care. Yeah.
When you leave the project that you spent a big chunk of time on, did you try to find something very different, or did you set out to find something that was a very different headspace to Once Upon a Time?
I mean, I set out to find something that was a hook for me, that I felt emotionally invested in. And, you know, when I read the pilot script for Manifest, and it was, you know, this plane goes missing 5.5 years ago, all of a sudden it lands again, but no time has passed for the people on the plane, I was immediately hooked. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know how that worked, what happens, you know, to a family, what happens to interrupted lives, what happens to a father with twins and a wife back at home. You know, how does that work? You know, Ben Stone has a son who's dying of a terminal illness, of a cancer. At the time they get on the plane, there's no cure for this cancer. When they land again, there is a cure for this cancer. It was also developed by another passenger that was on the plane. What does that mean? I think, you know, all of the passengers that were on this plane are going to have interconnected lives, which is going to be really interesting in different ways that they're not aware of. So we're going to discover that as we go along. And, you know, Ben is a man, he's a mathematician, he's a man of science, he has a scientific mind, he wants concrete answers, he wants solutions, he wants to find the truth about things, and he's going to set out on this obsessive path, this obsessive journey to figure out what happened to them on that plane. And for good or bad, you know, it's a show about hope, it's a show about second chances, and it's about what do you do? What are the choices you make when you get a second chance? It's, you know, there's so much, it's this emotionally rich landscape. It's Lost meets This Is Us.
Do you have any theories about what happened?
I mean, I have many theories about what happened, none that I'm going to discuss right here at the table. And I also don't actually know what Jeff Rake has in his mind. I don't know what the actual mystery is, and I don't want to know. You know, I want to discover it along with Ben. So I'm going to be figuring it out along with the audience.
I mean, you mentioned there that he's a man of science.
Yeah.
So does he not see it as a spiritual thing? He's for sure it's a more scientific.
I mean, that's where Ben's going. You know, he doesn't think that that's part of it. He doesn't think God or any kind of spiritual connection has anything to do with it. He thinks there's an earthly reality. There is some kind of logical explanation to this. They just haven't found the answer yet.
Yeah. How does Ben Stone differ from your previous role as Prince Charming? Sorry.
Well, no, that's a great question. You know, I think they do differ. I think they differ a lot. I think, you know, he's flawed. You know, Ben is a flawed man. I think he's a great family man, like Prince Charming. I think he loves his family. But he can become very obsessive. He can become very single-minded, and he can have blinkers on. He'll be doing something for the good of the family or for the love of something, but he tends to get very focused, and then things get left behind. And I think with that kind of mind, you know, you can become obsessive, but, you know, the negative parts of that, you can also be impulsive, you can be erratic, you can be insensitive sometimes. But ultimately, he's a guy that is very he can be self-aware, and I think that softens his edges a little bit. But he's a great character to play, and we're discovering him as we go along. You know, we're on the second episode now, and we're finding out more about him, and it's been a blast.
Is it helpful for you as an actor to not know what's going on?
I think it depends on the project, but for me on this project, I think that's going to be really helpful. Yeah, really helpful.
Can you talk a little bit about the dynamic of what happens and how it affects him and his sister's relationship?
Yeah, you know, Ben and Michaela, they're siblings. You know, they are the best of friends and the best of enemies, and they have a deep, deep love for each other, and I do think that they do think differently. They approach things differently, and I think Michaela, after we land, you know, and as we go forward in trying to figure out what this mystery is, what happened to them. I think they're going to approach it slightly differently. Like I said, Ben is a man of science, and he's going to think there's something concrete, something logical. And I think Michaela is going to lean towards more of, well, there could be other possibilities. It could be spiritual. It could be something else.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's
I think
okay.
the telling point between the two of them is when they arrive at that junkyard, and then they had to get in, and then he's all pissed off, but then he goes back to the truck and he brings out the bolt.
Yeah, right.
It's like he's totally practical. He doesn't like it, but he's absolutely practical about it.
Yes.
We have a problem to deal with.
Yeah.
This is how we.
And this is a felony, by the way. Just so you know.
Yeah. It's like he's like really. We're gonna do this, but just be, realize what's happening.
Realize what's happening. Realize the steps that we have to go through, and let's try to do this properly, even though it's not proper.
And she's still being emotional about it. He's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, because she hadn't figured out how to get in there, but he did.
Right.
But that's just how they're doing it. They're perfect together because she can get him there, and then he says, okay, now I can solve this problem.
Exactly.
But you got to get me there first.
Exactly. I think they're going to be a great team in that way, and I think their differences are going to make them very strong as a duo.
Since your character has so much math and science knowledge, did you actually have to do any studying or
I do long division every night. I do a lot of algebra and a bit of trig every night. No, but I did. There are. As far as research goes, there's great books written by a lot of scientists that I've been reading right now. One called Fact versus Faith, which is a great book. And Ben's kind of model is the great thing about science is that it's true, whether or not you believe it. That's the way he thinks. So I've been reading a lot of books that talk about science versus theology.
In this scenario, would you rather be one of the people on the plane or one of the people who gets one of their loved ones back after 5 years?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question because, there's, you lose and you win some in both situations. It's a tough, unbelievable situation, and it's a story. This is a high concept mystery wrapped in a very emotionally rich family drama, and it's about these very ordinary people going through something extraordinary, and about what do you do when you have a second chance? What do you do? What are the choices that you make? Will you do something different? And these are all questions that they're all going to have to answer. Life has moved on for the people that were left behind, and they were just at that point 5.5 years later just starting to get their life back together in some kind of way and move on, and then all of a sudden it's interrupted again. The people on the plane, it was just a flight. There was some turbulence, but it was just a flight, and they come back and life is completely different. It's a world that they have no idea, and they're strangers, so they're going to have to figure this out and rediscover who they are, who their families are, and how they move forward.
But do they even know? I mean, because with the voices, let's face it, they know something's not right at this point.
They know something's not right.
They don't know, because they've been gone 5 years. They've been changed, but how do they get changed? Are they really changed? Are they crazy? Not crazy?
Right.
It's like there's so many things happening to them.
Right.
How do they just stabilize? Because there's just so much going on.
Yeah, it's a great question, and they're going to try to figure that out. There is a lot going on. It's not just voices. It's impulses. It's sounds. It's things that are going to, and these impulses, these voices, these sounds are, as we go through into the series, are going to affect these characters and push these characters into doing things. Hopefully for the better, but we'll have to find out. We'll have to see.
Great. Thank you.